So speaking of the webinar and kind of what is going to be talked about today, here's the agenda we have. We'll go over some introductions, who we are, why we are here and talking about our products today and this new awesome integration between the two platforms. We'll go over a Hudu walkthrough, brief walkthrough, and then a Zest walkthrough, as well as, of course, talk about the new integration between the two platforms. And as I mentioned, Q&A throughout, but we're going to be saving that Q&A mostly for the end just to make sure we get any and all questions answered today. So introductions of who you are all looking at today on this webinar. My name is Daniel Nelson. I am with Hudu as an account manager. If you've attended any of our webinars before, you've probably seen me. I probably have done thousands of demos at this point with Hudu, so very familiar on the product as well as integrations and partnerships that we have. And I always really enjoy doing these webinars to see some familiar faces in the audience attending these, as well as obviously just establishing relationships with our awesome partners here as well. Bobby, I'll shoot it over to you on the Zest side of things.
Sure. Thanks, Daniel. So myself, been in the industry for 20 plus years. We'll talk more about that as we go. And just right now, founder and building Zest. And I'll pass it over to Chadd.
Yeah, like Bobby, I've worked in the MSP industry for many years. Worked kind of every role within an MSP, from technician to founder, and now excited to take what we've learned with our product Zest, and I handle kind of the technical end of that.
Perfect. My name is Chaden. I'm the network system administrator for an MSP called Limetree Labs. I utilize both Zest for my PSA as well as Hudu for our documentation and credential manager. I've known Bobby and Chadd for a couple of years now and love everything that they're doing. So
excellent. Well, so really to kick this off, why we're here today. So for us, again, we've been in this space for a very long time. Chadd and I worked in a lot of different MSPs through the years, had crossed paths with each other at one, and then decided to start our own many years ago. So grew that very quickly, successfully, and along the way learned some stuff. And of course, along the way had to deal with products and vendors and all that kind of stuff. And we remember clear back in the day when there was only a couple options, right, Chadd, for pretty much anything you wanted.
Yeah.
Option one or two for a lot of stuff, and that was it. And so, we feel like at the time that we were operating, we were successful in spite of some of the tools that needed to improve. So at one point, we decided to, build the PSA. And, along with why we're here today with Hudu is like the storylines are definitely similar in that we both started as MSPs. We're, again, like the slide says, we're both privately owned and always trying to develop the products for MSPs. And I think that's really important, that we think about an MSP and we think about you, all of you out there, and what you need. And that's also the importance of this integration. And our, partnership with Hudu is early on out of the gate. We saw, how well Hudu was structured, how it was going, just very excited about the product ourselves. And so we wanted to make sure that any integrations that we do are very deep, tight integrations that make it easier for you as an MSP. Chadd, you want to add anything to that?
Just that we've always loved Hudu and the value they're bringing. They're really, it was really a standout IT documentation product to us. It was definitely the first on our list to want to integrate with, and so we're really excited to be doing this this webinar today.
Yeah, so in terms of having the background, and we've got Chaden here today to give some practical some practical feedback in using both tools. But again, we've been in this industry, have this experience, and then to move that towards products that are for MSPs. The combination of Hudu and Zest is one that it just lets you be able to focus on the things you need to instead of always focusing on your tools. Chadd and I talk to hundreds of MSPs all the time, and we are very happy when they're using at least their basic tools, which we'll talk more about in a minute. But some of the times they are not thinking of some of these basic tools they need to have. And so the great thing about Hudu and Zest is you've got two key tools that you need to run your MSP so that things are not getting dropped, you have customers that are happy, all that kind of stuff. And we'll go through and show some of that. But I think that when it comes to Zest, we want something that is simple, something that is very easy to use. And I think that Hudu is in that same vein. And it's not that there's not good automation and there's not complexity to these products. I mean, that's there as well. But in the end, they're simple to be able to use and operate and to get going with, because as an MSP, you've got to spend time with your clients. You've got to spend time with your staff, the team you're building. You've got to spend time on new technology, all that kind of stuff. You should not be spending time in your tools. You shouldn't be shackled to them, and you should be able to effortlessly use your tools so that you're focusing on the things you should. So anything you want to add, Chadd, to this?
Just that we really focus on enabling Hudu with our integration, enabling the use of it to get up and going more quickly. A big target for this is for those MSPs who are not yet using a good documentation system. We really recommend Hudu to people we talk to that are getting started with Zest. And with this integration, you'll see as we go talk more about it, it really helps you hit the ground running with Hudu and provision it quickly and just keep it up to date effortlessly. So we'll be showing all those things in the demo today.
Yeah, and Chaden, we want to throw this over to you now to give your experience with both. And after Chaden does that, Chadd, if we need to, maybe hit on a couple of these points if we need to a little bit more. But go ahead, Chaden.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just kind of want to give some background too of kind of where I came from. I've been in the MSP space about 6 years, 6 years here in April. So I've worked a lot with a lot of different tools, a lot of different PSAs, a lot of different RMMs, documentation managers. When I first came to Limetree Labs, the documentation, we kind of had some in our credential manager, we kind of had some in SharePoint, we kind of had some in a OneNote. And it made it very, very complicated for a lot of our techs to actually find the information that they were looking for. And so we started realizing very quickly, okay, well, we can use the past resolutions on tickets, except for the fact that we were using one of the big PSAs and searching for a ticket took 15 minutes to pull up the right ticket. And so it kind of compounded and was adding a lot of frustrations with some of the technicians. Which is actually when we got introduced to Zest, and making that move to Zest is one of the best things that we've done for our MSP. I've seen technicians be able to resolve tickets quicker because they're not having to deal with 85 different fields that they have to fill out just to assign a ticket. And so it's been super awesome on the PSA front. Everything is handled in the PSA. It's our authoritative the place that we go to look at our customers and our contacts. How many users are we supporting? And it's been incredible. Zest is just ready to go out of the box. Everything's simple. It's defined. You can still set permissions, but you don't have to reach out to an onboarding team to help you set up the permissions. It's been incredible. Then I came across Hudu, and Hudu is very much in the same boat. Hudu was very easy to set up. All of a sudden, our technicians had knowledge bases relating to just a customer or even a global knowledge base. And we started finding that we weren't wasting as much time and that our customer satisfaction went way up because we were actually focusing on resolving these issues for our customer base. So it's been incredible. The integration between Zest and Hudu has been awesome as well. It lets me instantly set up these asset layouts that I need to properly manage all of my customers' infrastructure. I can go through and instantly see what each of our customer environments look like. And so that's been handy. The other part of the integration that I'm sure Chadd and Bobby and Daniel will hit on a little bit is being able to bring over the contacts from Zest. Because Zest is our PSA, because that's our authoritative source for those end users, having them in Hudu means then I can start making relationships to credentials or to these are my local administrators for this organization. And it really just ties in the two very, very simply, not in a way that's overwhelming, not in a way that I'm redoing a bunch of work, but in a way that actually cut out hours of my work and has cut out hundreds of hours from my technicians' work. So it's been, I mean, it really is the best combo that I've found.
Thanks, Chaden. And Chaden, tell me one thing that just delighted you when you were using Hudu. You just thought, wow, that's cool. Can you think of one thing that you just thought, wow?
I mean, completely open customization. I mean, they give you the option to just add your own CSS code. Like I was able to format everything exactly how I wanted it. And it took maybe an hour, and that's because I don't know CSS. So it was very, very remarkable product. The support also blows me away too. I have a resolution within an hour every time.
Wow, that's awesome. Good deal. Thanks, Chaden.
Yeah.
So really moving into our next topic is the tools, the basic tools you really need. You know, when you're looking at as an MSP, you know, how are you going to operate? So you're getting more customers, you're getting some employees, team members, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, your PSA, your RMM, and your documentation, right, Chadd? Like these are so critical, they're vital. And you know, we've always eaten our own dog food because Chadd and I, we've been on the front lines, we've been there. I mean, I remember even when we started our own MSP and just, you know, those first few customers and trying to do everything, we understand the struggle of trying to do that. But we also don't excuse that you need to be professional from day one. You need to do that. And so you need a set, your base set of tools, and these three are critical. Can you talk more to that, Chadd?
Yeah, absolutely. You're so right, Bobby. We talk. It's a lot of fun with what we do, being in the industry so long, and now being on the vendor side of things. We talk with hundreds and hundreds of MSPs every year, at every point in their journey, from startup to we've been at it for 10 years, but we can't get traction. And one thing that still blows me away is how many of them do not have a comprehensive set of these three things. You need to, your PSA will track what you're doing, make sure it gets done on time. Your RMM, and of course, other related tools to that, enables the work you do. But then, you know, big missing piece for a lot of people is documentation. If you do not document everything along the way, you will hit a ceiling and you won't be able to grow past it. It just becomes impossible. You know, you can't hold it all in your head. You can't standardize. You can't iterate and improve. And so really when it comes to the way Zest views its role, it's very cleanly a PSA, and it leaves the other two roles to really good purpose-built products like Hudu. And then our integrations also are, as you'll see as we look into them, they should always enable the other products. They should never butt heads or get in the way. So you'll see that the non-destructive way we do our integration lets you use Hudu in the customizable way you want, but still lets your PSA be authoritative for the things you always need to track, like your customers and your contacts. So we're really focused on enabling MSPs to build this good stack of products and go from there.
Yeah, you really need these three right away. And documentation, don't think, well, I can do it later on, because it just becomes a bigger, you know, mountain you've got to climb. And then as you get team members, you'll start to waste enormous amounts of time in taking care of issues and clients and all those things. And you'll hear it all the time. Well, was it written down? Was it documented? I mean, you've got to have that stuff from day one, right, Chadd?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. And you these aren't optional products. Really, if you are serious about having an MSP business, you do need to get these products on day one. And again, that's another thing about Hudu that's fantastic. Wonderful pricing, no excuse not to get it, even when you just got customer number one. Start documenting from day one because you'll never be perfect, but you're gonna get, like you said, way behind. But more importantly, you need to, it's a documentation is a skill. It's not some necessary evil. You have to start doing it so you can learn. And you don't want to go, man, I wish we had documented this in a different way when you have 100 things you need to redo. You want to do it when you only have 3 things to redo.
Absolutely.
So, get going with that from day one. Any MSP that is serious needs to have this product stack. Hudu is what we recommend to get in there and start documenting from day one.
And over to you, Daniel.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I mean, you kind of did a lot of my job for me there, so that
Sorry.
was fantastic. No,
Sorry.
thanks for
We're kind of talkers.
no, thanks for
We're holding back even now, but yeah.
thanks for the great introduction. And Chaden, that was fantastic. Thank you again for hopping on and kind of talking about how you use both of these platforms together, and kind of what successes that you've had with utilizing both. So as Bobby and Chad and Chaden mentioned here, a documentation platform is necessary within your MSP. And so today we're going to get a little bit in, if you're not familiar with Hudu, and really not familiar with a documentation platform in general, we'll go over kind of some of those true benefits of what a documentation platform can do for your MSP. So, what is Hudu? Hudu is a single location for technician knowledge. It basically ensures that technicians have all the info that they need in one central location. So, Hudu specifically is a cloud based or self hosted documentation suite. We are available both hosted or self hosted. And again, it's really designed to be that IT playbook for your team. You can think of it in a way that if somebody needs to go accomplish a task, a technician gets assigned a task, well, they have the full playbook on any and all items that are necessary for completing that specific task. It, of course, prevents information sprawl as well. So you don't have, without a documentation tool, you may have many different avenues of places that you have to go to find different information, and sources that may tie in directly, but I have to go into these separate sources to find all of it. Documentation consolidates that into one central location. And of course, what's documentation without keeping it accurate and up to date? And we'll talk about that a little bit as well. We had this on the last slide, but really the goal of good documentation is to, of course, help your best techs, but really enable all techs to be the best. And Hudu really helps you accomplish this because if you have new techs coming in and they don't know where to start, it can be really challenging for them to get onboarded and get kind of up to date with what's going on within your company and how to accomplish certain tasks. And Hudu really allows those technicians that are new or maybe those level 1 techs to really excel quickly. And the ways that enable that is Hudu's really intuitive. It's easy to learn and it's easy to adapt. Chaden alluded to that earlier. We try to make things as easy as possible to kind of get started with Hudu. And that in turn makes it enjoyable to use. There's a very common misconception out there that documentation is not fun. Well, we at Hudu try to make it as enjoyable to use as possible and really focused on making it beneficial for your MSP. And of course, fast to add value as well to your team. Chaden alluded to that a lot earlier. And of course, a big part of this is what Chad and Bobby mentioned, and that slide we just focused on, PSA, RMM, documentation, and of course, a vast network of other tools as well. Hudu integrates with many critical tools. So, you have all of those automation capabilities inside of your documentation platform. And again, we'll touch on that in a bit. The other thing I want to allude to is just continuous development with Hudu. We highlighted this earlier with both of our platforms, but Hudu's not satisfied with just being a good documentation platform. We really are, continuously improving the product based off of what our customers and what our MSPs truly need and adding that value into the platform. So these are the main things that we try to accomplish with Hudu and what we feel that MSPs truly get the benefit out of Hudu. That's going to be saving time by empowering your technicians with the tools they need. We'll show off some of those tools here in a bit, but when a technician is able to jump into a platform and have, again, that IT playbook with everything they need, it makes their job a lot easier. Hudu also helps you stand out with your MSP business. It equips your team to deliver that exceptional service. Chaden alluded to that perfectly, I thought, earlier. The amount of hours saved and the service that is available to be delivered by utilizing Hudu is really just top notch. And of course, driving growth as well by establishing standardized frameworks within your documentation. What happens if your best technician leaves? Have they set up the rest of your team for success moving forward? And so driving that growth, having those items documented is really just imperative to have these days within your MSP business. So at this point, I'm going to hop over to the platform. Now, if you currently utilize Hudu, if you've never seen it before, this is basically just going to be a teaser into Hudu. It's not meant to be a demo at all. At the end of the call today, I'll link over my information. So if you do want a kind of full high-level overview demo, again, feel free to reach out to me at a future time. But I just kind of want to give into a little bit of a teaser into all those things I mentioned, how that's done with inside of Hudu. So we're going to jump straight into a company here, which is really the heart of Hudu. Again, this is your IT playbook for technicians with all of these core tools that Hudu provides. Now, Chaden alluded to this earlier. One of the greatest benefits of Hudu is flexible customization. So we provide a lot of different customization options within pretty much every tool in Hudu, but we do have that standardized nature for you already. So of course the tool is flexible, but we still have kind of a generic guideline on, so you're not just jumping into a platform with absolutely, no direction on where to go. So as soon as I jump into a company here, talking about that kind of flexible customization that we offer, there's a couple different ways to get information right on the forefront of that company page. So if a technician needs to come into a company and figure out whatever information is extremely relevant, you have a customizable quick note section to do that. And you can also use the REST API to do that as well. So one of our API kind of endpoints inside of our API documentation is the Magic Dash. This is basically can be used for further customizing your client dashboard, adding more value for technicians. So if you want something to appear for them as soon as they jump into a company, you can utilize our API to do so. Again, increases that efficiency so they don't have to go looking for things. They have it all available for them right when they jump into a company here. Now, along with, once we jump into a company, this left-hand sidebar here is all going to look the same when you jump into a company. We talk about that standardized manner. And we start off with these core tools here: passwords, processes, KB articles, photos, networks, racks, websites, and expirations. Now, this is essentially everything a tech needs to complete a service ticket. We're not going to click into these, but what we are going to do is jump into an asset and kind of talk about how we can tie all of this together. And again, I'll keep going it back, but Chaden alluded to this earlier, to make sure that we create that web of data, making sure that a technician has everything they need in one central location. So as I jump into one of our assets here, in this instance, this desktop, we have a related items section of Hudu. Now, again, this is how we're creating this web of data. So I'm on this desktop here, and I can see all relevant data related to this desktop. the contact that owns the desktop, the IP address that it corresponds to, any related articles that may be associated with the desktop, processes that are currently being completed. These are your SOPs that are currently being ran for this device. We also see integrations come into play here. So we're bringing in information from other sources. And again, I'll highlight this in a bit more when I talk a little bit more about the Zest side of things. But I can then click into the contact here. And we see that same information. We retain the connection with our desktop as all relationships are two-way connected. We have those articles. We have child passwords for the person. So again, just making sure that we're creating that web of data. And this is really setting the backbone of your software, right? Creating these asset layouts to allow us to really have any information that we want to be tracked inside of our documentation platform, we're available to do so with our asset management. These are all completely flexible and customizable, and I can add additional asset layouts however I choose. And Zest is actually going to show you a little bit later how their product actually helps with this and how the integration actually creates these asset layouts for you rather than doing it manually inside of Hudu. Now, real quick, another kind of benefit that's needed with your documentation platform is, as I mentioned, making sure that this documentation is accurate and up to date. Well, Hudu has revision history across the board for all of these assets as well as many other items. So if I jump into one of the most recent updates here, I can see each time that this asset has been changed from its creation, and I can jump back to any of those previous versions. If this asset had been changed 20 times, we would see all of those changes, and we can actually compare the differences between them. So now kind of tying in everything together with Zest. So again, we've talked about bringing in RMM information. We see 365 information coming in. And of course, we talked about earlier, PSA information coming in as well, your contact information that is necessary to have to create these related items with the device, with the passwords that are associated. Well, one of the coolest things about Zest is that it's going to automatically create these fields for you. So taking a step back, outside of these integrations, you have your flexible asset layout information inside of Hudu. This can be manual documentation. This can be information that is imported in, or this can be integration information. And as I mentioned, Zest is going to automatically populate these fields with that integration. And so that kind of, I think, is a great transition to shoot it over to Zest and kind of talk a little bit about their platform. And then, of course, show off this integration and how those mappings are going to occur inside of Hudu. So I will jump back over to the slides here and I'll shoot it over to Zest.
Right, thanks, Daniel. Yeah, so Zest, I mean, it simplifies what you need to do in your PSA. And Chadd will show us a demo here in a minute, but we wanted to make sure that whether it was entering time, creating a ticket, completing a ticket, tasks, all of that, we wanted to make sure it was easy and quick for you to do as an MSP. I mean, we'd use systems that didn't really have tasks that you could use. Everything had to run through a ticket. We know that that doesn't work. You got to have both. Time entry was really hard to do. I mean, all these different things. And we wanted to make sure it wasn't bloated. We wanted to make sure that, again, I mean, Chadd and I used other PSAs that took us 4 months to onboard. And that's absolutely no exaggeration, like 4 months. And we're in the tech space. So, we wanted to create a PSA, and we have that, within a couple hours, you are rolling. You've got everything in there, you're going, it's very intuitive, all that kind of stuff. And again, we're very excited with this integration with Hudu because we wanted to make sure it was really, again, very deep and make sure it just works well together. And so, Chadd, go ahead with the demo.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Bobby. Going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so here is the main page of Zest. So as Bobby mentioned, we really wanted to build a more streamlined PSA. We wanted something that every MSP can use, even if you don't have a full-time dedicated employee. We're there to manage it, something that's easy to onboard. And we also wanted to really focus in on what you need your PSA for. Sometimes I think people get a little lost in the weeds of features. I know we did with some of the products we used, when really what drives your business forward as an MSP is your service delivery, and your PSA is there to enable that. So here is the main screen of Zest. This is where when you're using the product, you actually spend 90–95% of your time. We have two unique features in Zest called the work feed and the dash bar. At the top of the screen here is the dash bar. It is a consolidated group of gauges so you can track that service delivery is working properly in your company and nothing is falling through the cracks. And this is a company-wide view. Everybody in the company can see this dash bar at all times, and it's very easy. It's color-coded. Green is good, yellow is a warning, red is something is failing. So here we can expand the dash bar and we can see the things it's tracking, your total number of tickets, if you have any new tickets that need dispatched. If you have any overdue tickets, or in this case, we can see red, we have an overdue task. A task, like Bobby mentioned, it's important to be able to track everything you're doing within your MSP, even if a ticket is not appropriate for that. So tasks are a lighter weight way of doing that. SLA health, so you can know that things are getting resolved in a timely manner. Average urgency is a unique score we have. It's just a shorthand for how old in general is this ticket, or based on what the customer's expectations are. And then customer health lets you track a lot of unique things like proactive visits with your customers to keep them happy. And what's great about these gauges is that these are all interactive. So we have a red gauge here. I can actually click on that and it's going to take me to a view showing that I have an overdue task, and that's what's causing this gauge to be red. So we can go right into this task. We are an action-based system. It's very quick and easy to use. We're mobile responsive, so this works on mobile as well. You can do this from your phone, from your tablet. We'll just start work on this ticket, and immediately that gauge is going to go green because this is no longer overdue. It's now being worked because it was scheduled to be worked. And as we work on this issue, we might find that, we can't take care of it today. So we're going to schedule that for the future. Maybe we need to get back with the user tomorrow. And just like that, we're prompted to put our time in. Zest is built completely around workflows that let you move from task to ticket to task and capture your time along the way. So even though we only spent 1 minute working on this, just that quick, we can capture that 1 minute of work. Zest is built around 100% time tracking. So we make it very easy to actually track everything you do from the minute you get to work to the minute you leave. It shouldn't be a burden to capture all your time accurately. You can see we have a timer here running in the upper right. It's now ticking for the next thing we're going to work on. So while the dash bar at the top lets you keep tabs over what's going on over the entire organization very easily, the main place people work is the work feed, which is the other unique feature of Zest. It organizes all the tickets and tasks you have, and it automatically prioritizes them for you based on our unique urgency score. So you can see here, this ticket at the very top of the list, this is an urgency 20 ticket. This is a ticket that is way overdue. The customer's probably really unhappy. So we're going to click into this ticket. We're going to start work. We're going to reach out to the customer. We're going to fix this for them. And once it's done, we're going to resolve. We can optionally reply to the customer with the solution if we weren't talking with them. And just that quick, we've worked on this ticket, and now we're capturing the time that we spent. And now, if we go back to the work feed, that ticket is done and gone, and the next most urgent ticket is at the top of the list. This urgency score is dynamic. It's related to not just how old the ticket is, but also what type of work you're doing. If it's a break fix ticket in our break fix queue, that urgency is going to grow very quickly. As your customer has something that's broken, they're pretty impatient. Whereas down here, we have a ticket that's in the procurement queue. That urgency is going to grow more slowly because, of course, you have a longer resolution target for things that take a longer time, like ordering computers. So those are the two main features of Zest we just wanted to highlight. But of course, this is a full-featured PSA. So if we expand over here, we'll see that we have timesheets for tracking your time. This is where you can go in and track all the work you're doing. If you've missed putting time while you're working a ticket, you can just come in here and very quickly drag to add your missing time. We have a projects module. We have built-in reporting. And then, of course, when it comes to what's important in your documentation with Hudu, this is where you're going to track all of your customers and all of your contacts for those customers. And we view your PSA as the important tool for tracking your customers and your relationships and your time, and also all the contacts, all the users you support. And so that is the core of the integration with Hudu. So if we go over here, we can look at the Hudu integration. So it's very easy to set up. To set up Hudu integration, all you do is in Hudu, you set up an API key. Using that API key, you go into your integrations in Zest and hit connect, put that API information, and Zest instantly connects to your Hudu instance. Once you're connected, then you can choose how much of the integration you want to use. If you go to settings here, you'll see that the core of the integration is keeping your companies and your contacts in sync to your Hudu instance. And this is very important because as Daniel was talking about building that web of information, your PSA is where you're going to add your customers and where you're going to add your contacts. And you want those objects to exist in Hudu, but of course you don't want to keep them up to date manually. And so once you toggle on integration right here, that is going to create all of your customers immediately in your Hudu instance. And then importantly, when you go into one of those customers, you're going to see all your contacts as well. It will automatically make an asset template called contacts, and it will bring over your contact information. And then this integration works very quickly and seamlessly through that API key. So if we go to contacts and we find this contact, if we make a change like setting him as a VIP, for example, in Zest, we come back over and refresh the page and we'll see he's now a VIP contact in Hudu. And of course, now that this contact lives in Hudu, we can go over and add related items. We can find that user's password, associate that with him, associate him with programs. Chaden actually shared with us one of the ways he's using Hudu to track the administrators of programs and associate those with the users that come over from Zest. So we can see here that Barney is in the local administrator asset template, so we can easily see who are the administrators of programs or applications. The other great thing about this integration, the way we like to do integrations with Zest, is this is non-destructive. We never want our integration to get in the way of something you're doing that's custom or cause you to potentially lose data. Even though Hudu is fantastic for recovering that data, as Daniel was showing with the full history there, the way we do our integration is non-destructive. So for example, if there's ever a duplication, it will duplicate in Hudu and you can delete whatever the duplicate is. If you delete a customer in Zest or you offboard them, that information, that customer and all their information will still live in Hudu unless you choose to go into Hudu and also archive them there as well. So that's our way of keeping your data in Zest in sync with Hudu. There is one other great thing we did with our integration though, because we do love Hudu as a platform. We wanted to make it easy for MSPs who are not using Hudu to start using it. And so, of course, Hudu is very customizable. You can build these asset templates any way you want, but we wanted to make it easy for people who are just getting going. So when your integration is connected, you can go to asset layouts. And these are all the asset layouts that we have built to let people hit the ground running. So if you're using Zest and you're integrating with Hudu, you can actually come in here and say, you know, I want to add printing and locations and remote access documentation templates to Hudu so I can start filling those out. We'll just click OK on that. And if we go back over to Hudu and refresh, we're going to see those new asset templates now exist, and you're going to be able to come in here and you're going to be able to start filling these out with information. And so it just saves a lot of time. If you're new to Hudu and you're just getting going, you don't have to just settle for the default templates. We have a full suite, so you can kind of hit the ground running with our recommended templates. That really highlights what we're doing with our integration here. And importantly, this is just kind of our first phase. We want to add more and more. Every place we can find something that is good to do to integrate with Hudu, we're going to keep adding that to our integration.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Chadd. And like Daniel said, continuous improvement, continuous making it better. Like, we're absolutely wanting to do that as well. And, you know, again, we love to say, you know, slay the dragons of complexity, right? Like take the complexity out of the tool part and solution part of your MSP so you can focus on the stuff that makes you money and keeps you going. So both of these, you know, both Hudu and Zest do that. So thanks, Chadd.
Yeah.
And we'll swing it back to you, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks, guys. That was great. And again, I think I just want to reiterate that point of part of the reason we do these partner webinars and the real benefit of them is not only obviously to show off a great integration between two products, but also to get feedback on integrations and to from if you're a Zest customer and you're interested in Hudu, or if you're a Hudu customer and are interested in Zest, we obviously want to make this integration as benefit focused as possible for you, so you can really get as much value out of it as possible. So if you're attending this webinar today, or watching back online, or at any point, always feel free to reach out to us and provide feedback, because obviously, like they mentioned, this is kind of version 1 of the integration, and I think it's absolutely great. And I loved what you just showed there, Chadd. But if you can ever think of anything that can be added, or things you want to see, please feel free to reach out to our teams. As we mentioned at the start, we're both very customer focused. We both started from as MSPs, so we know the value of hearing your feedback and implementing those changes based off of what you are looking for. But overall, thanks so much, Chadd. I think that was a great presentation of the new integration. At this point, we've saved this last 15 minutes here, and look at that timing. We wanted 15 minutes for Q&A. We got 16. So good job on us there, team. But yeah, any and all questions are completely welcomed here. Feel free to use the chat or the Q&A if you have questions on Hudu specifically, if you have questions on Zest specifically, or of course on the integration and its capabilities. We're more than happy to add anything at all today. This webinar was scheduled for an hour. We like to kind of wrap this up in this 45-minute mark to give time for this. Again, don't have any questions at this point, but we'll probably stick on for the next at least couple minutes here and just make sure if any questions do come in, we can answer them. Chaden, anything else you want to add based off of what we've talked about? Obviously, I think having your experience with utilizing both of these products is very beneficial in this case for any other MSPs that are maybe thinking about this stack. So anything else you want to add today? Again, thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, absolutely. As for things to add, really the biggest thing was it took a lot of convincing and a lot of discussing the switch of product stacks, but it seriously was like one of the most beneficial things that my MSP could have done. So if there's anybody out there who's worried about, oh, it's going to take so much time, I transferred all of our credentials from our old credential manager to Hudu in just like 4 hours, and we had 56 customers at the time. And so it's something super easy. It's worth it. Like the time saved and the time invested into it will absolutely grow your customer base, and you'll be making more money. So it really is worth it to start looking at some other tools. If you have a product stack that works, that's great. If you have any questions about your product stack, I'm telling you right now that Zest and Hudu combined are pretty powerful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chaden. I appreciate that and appreciate your time on the call today. So since we don't have any questions in the Q&A or chat today, we'll go ahead and start wrapping up. I mentioned earlier on the Hudu side of things that we were just kind of given a little bit of a teaser in today. I will go ahead and put my email in the chat for anybody that's joining today. You feel free to shoot me over an email at any time. I'd be more than happy to give you a full demo, high-level overview of the platform if you want to see a little bit more of Hudu. Also, last thing on my end, and then I'll shoot it over to Zest to kind of close us out today. But If you aren't utilizing one of these two platforms and you would like to be, you can visit either one of our websites, and we both offer free trials there. So visit our websites and sign up for that free trial today, or whenever makes sense for your company. And if you have any questions, of course, reach out to us. We're both of our teams are very ready to help in any way that we possibly can. So, Bobby, Chadd, I'll shoot it over to you for anything else on your side, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up today.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel, and really appreciate you and your team in putting this together. Yeah, we're excited. Again, just if you're interested in a free trial, just go to the site there. We've really streamlined it because, again, we've been through it. We've lived through this experience, right, Chadd? So, you know, we have a demo video. You go through, there's a trial, and then there's also an onboarding video too for your trial. It's so streamlined and easy, and you don't have to talk to any humans to do it. And you get right on and get rolling, and then from there, you know, we're always available. We love to chat with MSPs. In fact, it is funny to us, but sometimes somebody will have a question and we get on a call or a Teams meeting with them, and 2 hours later we're wrapping up. So we're like, you know, we just love to talk about this stuff. So, but really appreciate everyone coming in today, and that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Bobby and Chadd, for showing off the Zest side of things. And thank you again, Chaden, for hopping in and talking a little bit about how you utilize these two tools together. We'll go ahead and wrap up today, give you back 10 minutes of your day here or so. And again, if anybody has anything following this call, reach out to either of us. Happy to help in any way we can. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. And we hope to hear from you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.